What's up, everybody? This is Ari in the Air. Welcome back. So, you've been watching these videos, and now I assume you want to soar into the sunset, you want to go on huge cross-country missions, you want to learn how to do acro, you're trying to learn how to paraglide, but you're not made of money. This video is for you. I'm going to teach you how to paraglide for less. Ready? Here we go. Hey, what's up? Oh yeah, you want to learn to fly? How much does it cost? Well, the glider's going to be $4,000 and the harness is about $1,000. Yeah, the reserve parachute, yeah, you need one of those, about $800. Yeah, you'll need a helmet, a radio, a vario, a tracker. That'll probably be $1,000. And then, yeah, lessons. Yeah, you need lessons. Those will be $2,500. Yeah, so about $9,000. Oh, what? You can't do that? Whatever, dude. See you later. Huh, you can't do it either, huh? Okay, 9,000 does sound like a lot to learn. So today, I'm gonna talk to you about how to get your gear for cheaper. We're gonna talk about whether or not you need an instructor. We're gonna talk about how to become a part of the community and to get mentors. And then I'm gonna give you 4 easy tips on what not to do as you're beginning to learn how to fly. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about the gear first. Paragliding is expensive to start doing. And in a way that's really good because it helps you commit, it helps you make dedication. This is aviation after all, folks. It's very dangerous. So if you think you can just be cheap and you can skip getting an instructor and get crappy gear, you're kind of asking for bad results here. So let's make a delineation between cheap and thrifty. You want to be thrifty, but you don't want to be cheap, okay? This might not be the best sport for dirtbags after all. But the initial cost will help you commit, help you make dedication, help take it seriously. But then after that, it's free. You can hike up the hill, and when the wind blows up the hill, you can fly off and be paragliding. No additional cost, right? Which is super rad. But as far as getting your first paraglider set up, it's fine to get used gear. When you are looking for used gear as a beginner, you want to get an E&A. You want to get a student glider or at least a low B. And you want to be in the middle of the recommended weight range. You want to be within the weight range and preferably in the middle of that. And when you're buying a used glider, you basically look at it like it's a tent or something. Like, is the material in good condition? Are the stitchings in good condition? Do the lines look frayed and worn? Is it broken? Does it have holes in it? Is it all beat up? It's pretty obvious, even from someone who's not real experienced, to look at a glider and you can kind of tell, well, this thing's kind of beat up. We've all seen a new tent or a new sleeping bag, or even a new jacket. A paraglider is not much different than that. It's just fabric and stitching and lines. So as far as a used reserve parachute, you don't really want to skimp here. Make sure you get a reserve parachute and get a big one. If you ever use it, you'll be glad you have the right size. When I started paragliding, I had one that was really small. Luckily, before I ever threw it, I upgraded to a bigger size. And when I went down under my reserve for the first time, I thought to myself, oh my God, if I had been on that little reserve parachute, I would have died. I crashed into the ground hard enough. So big reserve parachutes are a lifesaver. As you're learning, you're gonna need a radio to communicate with other pilots. And there's actually pretty good Chinese ones available online. The brand that I use is called Baofeng, and it's pretty widely used in the sport, and they're about 40 bucks, 50 bucks, something like that. I'll put the link in the description below to what I recommend. As far as for getting a vario is a instrument that tells you if you're going up or if you're going down and which way the wind is going. It gives you a lot of information. It's a flight instrument. And a good one can cost anywhere from $200 to $900. But these days our smartphones are really smart and they work great. And if you have Android, then Flyme is a new app that's free that it works great. And if you have iOS, it'll cost you about $10, but I use Fly Sky High because I have an iPhone. And so a cheap or free app for your smartphone will definitely get you into paragliding, even far into cross country. I'm still using just a small Vario and my iPhone. Now that we've talked about the gear, let me just tell you a really good way to either injure yourself, paralyze yourself, kill yourself, or even worse, make yourself look like an asshole. And that is to get a paraglider and think you can teach yourself how to use it and go out and fly it. That's a really good way to kill yourself. Paragliding is very dangerous and it seems really simple from the outside, but like everything, it is infinitely easy and infinitely hard. It can be super simple and it can be really complex. And the hard part when you're learning is the weather and the wind, and those are things that as we live our lives on the ground, we don't really get a fine sense of which way the wind is blowing, how consistent the wind is, the speed, the direction. And as you become a very experienced paraglide pilot, you can feel it on your face, you can feel it in your hair, you can hear it, you can feel the consistency. And as a beginner, you just don't have those things. So you got to be really careful starting out. The question is whether or not you need an instructor. I would say that you cannot teach yourself to paraglide, not realistically anyway. If you were to do it right, if you were to teach yourself how to paraglide, it would take you so long. You would have to be so conservative. You would spend so much time doing it. So in that sense, an instructor is the safest, fastest, and if it keeps you from hurting yourself, which it probably will, it is the cheapest way to learn how to paraglide is to pay an instructor to teach you. Another important thing about having an instructor is you're going to need a rating, especially if you fly here in America. As you're learning, you don't want to fly by yourself, you don't want to invent new sites, so you're going to have to go to the places where people fly. And most of the sites here in America where people fly frequently are regulated by the governing body USPA, and you need a license to fly there. If you don't get an instructor, it'll be really hard to have a license. And if you don't have a license, it'll be really hard to fly at those places. So learning will take you longer and longer and longer because you'll have to go out into the boondocks and you'll have to find national forest land or BLM land or yada, 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 and you'll fly by yourself, you'll get hurt, it'll take forever. So the instructor is probably the fastest, best way for you to get in. Instruction in paragliding is not cheap. It takes instructors a bunch of overhead to cover their insurance and all kinds of things. And it's also very stressful to teach people to do something that's as dangerous as paragliding. So have some respect for the instructors who are out there. Not every instructor is created the same. There are some really good ones, and then there's some who are less experienced. It's the Chris Santacroces, the Rob Sporers, these guys who have had these schools in place for decades. If you are willing to make the investment in time and money, you might want to travel for your first 10 days of paragliding. That might be the fastest, easiest way to get in. Another great thing about having an instructor is it instantly ties you to the community and to a mentor, and that's really what you need to become a paraglide pilot that is self-sufficient. Even after you get a rating, you won't necessarily be self-sufficient. You can't just go out and find a hill and know that it's right and know that the wind is right and just fly yourself off of it. It takes time to develop the skills and the feel for the air and the sight and how big a landing needs to be and how much performance the glider has and what to look out for and myriad things that you need to learn, right? So even once you get your rating, you have to be tied to the community and you have to get some mentors. The best way to become part of the community and to find yourself mentors is a topic that I wrote a podcast about that I'll put the link in the description below. but I like to call it stoke as currency. Stoke as currency. So basically, you're going to pay the community, you're going to pay your mentors with your stoke. And what I mean is, you're going to be the person who wakes up and checks the wind. You're going to be the person who has the enthusiasm and sends the text messages and brings the barbecue and cooks the food, and also when someone wants to give you information or give you a tip, that you're humble and that you receive the information and that you're not conceited or arrogant about what you don't know, and that when people give you their knowledge and their advice, that you listen intently and you explicitly thank them for their contribution to your progression in paragliding, right? It also means that you're the kind of person that goes to the site, you show up early, you pick up the trash, you pull out the weeds that need to be pulled out. You're actively contributing to the community. You're trying to make it better for everyone because you know that the people who are there, who know what they're doing, they are the people who are going to allow you, enable you, instruct you to fly after you've left the wing of your instructor, right? So use your stoke as currency here. Use your enthusiasm. Use your appreciation. Use your humility. The people who have the knowledge that you need to gain will be so grateful and they will welcome you in. Paragliding is a community of really great people. They're super open, but it is a very dangerous sport. So on the edge, if you come in and you try to be arrogant, if you want to be cocky, if you want to be a show-off, if you think that you know what you're doing in the beginning when you don't, they're going to push on you really hard. They're going to push on you really hard. So be prepared for that and come in with a really humble attitude. Try to soak up as much knowledge and information you can from every pilot. It doesn't matter if they've been flying for 5 days or 50 years. Everyone has something that you can learn from. And that's not to say that whatever everyone says is what you have to do. You want to take it all with a grain of salt. You want to integrate as much information into yourself as you can so that you can make the best decisions moving forward and understand with as much clarity and depth as you can. Because the reality is, you want to be a pilot for a long time. Paragliding is not a sport that we age out of. You can do it until you're 70 years old or longer. And so you really just want to play the long game. You want to be humble. You want to become a part of the community. The community is the best part of the sport. And so you really just got to kind of check yourself as you come in. It was a huge challenge for me as I came in. I came in from being a professional skier and I was super gung-ho, and people really had to like push on me hard and kind of shake me and say, hey, like you could kill yourself doing this shit. And it wasn't until I crashed a couple times that I was like, oh, maybe they're right. So take it from me, you don't have to wait until they get mad at you. You don't have to wait until you eat shit and hurt yourself. You can come into the sport with humility and with an eagerness, but with a good appreciation for what you're doing so that you can learn as fast as possible. You don't ruffle a bunch of feathers as you come into the community, and people welcome you in and they give you as much information as they can. They want to help you, they want to see you grow, they want to see you fly, right? That's the best way to do it. So to wrap it up here, I'll give you my 4 just beginner tips. 1 is get the equipment for as cheap as you can. You want to use online forums, you want to use your local paragliding community, you want to use things like eBay, find a low B or an E&A glider, get a used one so that you can learn how to kite it. Okay? Kiting is the foundation of flying. You have to master kiting. That's my tip number 2, is become a master kiter. Don't just settle it good enough to launch. If you settle it good enough to launch, you're just a ticking time bomb to crash off launch. That's the most dangerous part of paragliding, is launching. So become a master kiter. Before you ever fly, you should spend 50 hours. 50 hours kiting. That's a lot of hours. I know you're gonna get bored if you don't do it right. So use websites, use YouTube like groundhandlingchallenge.org. I'll post the link in the description below. It's a website. It has all these different challenges you can do kiting, and you can use that to track your progress and see how good at kiting you're getting until you can fully do the ground spins, okay? They're really hard. Kiting is a delicate art. Number 3 is control your eagerness. Don't fly too soon. You gotta play the long game. Keep kiting as a beginner. Just keep kiting, keep kiting, keep kiting. Be a master kiter. Be a better kiter than all the other pilots you see flying every day. And then that'll be the foundation. Control your eagerness, right? Tip number 4, just some don'ts. Don't invent new sights. Don't think you can go to a hill and just decide that it's a good place to fly as a beginner. Don't fly too soon before you know that you can kite and launch and you have the techniques and that people who know what they're doing have watched you practice and are encouraging you to fly. Don't fly first. When you get to the site in the evening and you don't see any pilots flying, you need to wait for other pilots so that you can see what's happening in the air. Those are my 4 tips. Remember, be humble or you're gonna get humbled. Paragliding is the most amazing sport. It will change your life like it has changed all of ours. And so I encourage you to learn how to paraglide. It's the sport that I love so much. Hey, and don't forget, I sell gliders. I've got a killer student package going on right now. If you want a Gradient Bright 5, the best E&A out there, with the Supair access back with a start reserve, that package retails for about $5,000. I'll give it to you for $3,500. That'll include the speedbar and the reserve Dyneema reserve connectors. Or if you want the new Gradient Golden 5 with the sweet new Supair Evo Lite, that comes with a shine, lightweight reserve, the Dyneema bridles, the speedbar, the whole package. That retails for $5,500. I'll give it to you for $4,000. Leave me any questions you want here in the comments below. I answer them all. And if you're interested in a glider, email me at airyintheair@gmail.com and we will talk to you soon. Subscribe to this channel for more awesome paragliding content, and we'll see you on the next episode.